Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Prasnikar, and I am the Design Awards co-chair for our annual AIA Central PA Conference. Welcome to our 2020 Excellence in Design Awards keynote session, Real World Perspectives, Anticipating a Changing World Through Resilient Design, presented by Carolyn Sponza and Truc Budilevej from Gensler. A few housekeeping items to address before we begin. Please stay tuned at the end of this keynote for our 2020 Excellence in Design Awards broadcast and reveal. Q&A will be taking place at the end of this session, but will be opened only to members of our board. Please check your email over the next 24 hours for a feedback survey to let us know how you enjoyed this session and if to obtain AIA credit. To verify attendance of this keynote presentation, make note of the letters that will appear in the bottom corner of the screen. To obtain credit for attending the session, you will enter the code along with your AIA member ID in the follow-up survey. Real-world perspectives. We are thrilled to welcome two special guests from Gensler, Carolyn Sponza and Truc Budilevej, who will be leading today's presentation as they explore how projects and clients across various industries are responding and adapting with resilient design. Truc Budilevej is the co-regional practice area leader for higher education at Gensler. For over 20 years, Truc has assisted clients in academic master planning, feasibility studies, student facilities programming, and the development of planning initiatives that align with the strategic goals of the institution. Carolyn Sponza is a senior associate and design manager at Gensler. Carolyn is a planner, urban designer, and architect with great expertise in creating memorable, contextually relevant, and sustainable places. Trained in both social science and design, Carolyn has a unique background in which she approaches her work. Thank you both for being here today and sharing your innovation with our chapter. Whenever you're ready, please take it away.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you to members of Central Pennsylvania AIA. Well, we're thrilled to be here today, and wow, what a year it's been. COVID-19, on the day we're recording this, the popular press this morning is reporting we've hit the 1 million case mark worldwide. And it's upended everything, and it has us rethinking about resiliency in design. And against that backdrop, there's accelerated impacts of climate change. Certainly the wildfires of the past few months have been front and center in the news, but the longer term trend of climate change and the impact of sea level rise is impacting our clients in terms of what they're thinking about, how they're planning their future facilities, and where they might locate them. And then in addition, back in the spring, the social justice uprisings we've had, this is something that we can no longer ignore as a society. This is a time for understanding, and it's a time to rethink. And this is a trend, the increasing socioeconomic inequality in our society. This is something that is a long-term trend. We're seeing educational attainment is increasingly tied to economic mobility. And the pandemic has only exacerbated that situation. And of course, as we all know, the economy is in decline at the moment. The global economy is expected to contract over 5% worldwide this year. And there are really few industries that are immune to the impacts. And so what we're really seeing here is we're seeing our interrelated systems of our global society just overtaxed. And COVID has really made obvious this breakdown in these systems. And whether that be something as simple as access to the internet, or whether it's something like licensing of health professionals across state lines, we're seeing these moments where a lot of these systems are just completely overwhelmed. And so this has really got us thinking about the kind of balance that we might need. And there's been focus on the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. And now there's a renewed focus on how we can really help all of society from a social, environmental, and financial point of view. And so at Gensler, we are rethinking right now the impact of our designs. We're engaged in a dialogue, thinking about spaces that not just have invisible barriers to them, but what does the look and feel of those spaces mean? How do we create spaces that have a sense of belonging to make sure that it is inclusive design and that we've met our goals? And so now, to be a little bit more optimistic, we also see the pandemic as a moment of opportunity. We've all seen those photos of smogless skies in LA, so that drop in global CO2 emissions is an opportunity for sure. Some of the silver linings of the pandemic that I'm sure some of us are hearing about in terms of families eating meal times, whether that be lunch or dinner together, again, for the first time in a long time, or maybe ever, as long commutes have been eliminated. And we're also thinking about what a return to a modified normal might be. What are those stickiness, those things that are sticky that we're going to think back that have become the design future based around the pandemic, versus what are those things that fall away as a result of 2020?
So Chuck got to deliver the bad news, but I get to transition with the good news, and it's sort of an inspirational, aspirational message. We as architects and designers all have a unique and profound role in making a positive difference in this world. And now is a time like no other that the work that we do really can impact people's lives positively. So as Chuck said on the last slide, this has been a time of huge challenges, societal challenges, personal challenges, but it's also a moment of great opportunity as we look forward as designers. So not only do we have the ability to create a better place for people, but we have a responsibility to design through the lens of resilience. So resilience means a lot of things to different people. Primarily, the first thing that you might think about when you hear the word resilience is environmental sustainability, and that certainly is part of it. But Chuck and I are going to talk a little bit about 8 different lenses through which sustainable places and buildings can be created.
So the first one is really about climate resilience, and energy use and impact in terms of buildings has long been discussed. The particular ability to reduce EUI, as well as then creating sustainable power, whether that means on-site or near-site, has certainly been a long-term trend. The thing that we're really looking at now are the materials that go into the facility. So concrete in particular has major CO2 emissions issues. So we're starting to see some of our clients look at mass timber, for example, as an alternative. So for we as architects and designers, really thinking about the materials we specify and the impact of those materials is a key consideration. And as we just said, really 49% of US energy consumption is based around buildings. So we as a profession have a huge ability to impact the future of our planet. The second one is about ecological resistance, and decreased biodiversity is an issue. So we are looking to find ways to repair our ecosystems. We're looking, for example, at projects that might reestablish a Class B trout stream in an area by removing what was a stormwater culvert. And as an example, in York County, suburban sprawl has had a major impact. So finding ways to do things that still promote growth, but also promote biodiversity is an important consideration. Community resilience is really important as well. We are looking at how we mix different uses. I'd say retail was kind of the old easy answer as a way to spur growth or build some amount of community. Clearly, as we've all seen, the world is shifting away from face-to-face retail. So developing live, work, and play communities, in particular, what are the hubs that really drive interaction and that social network? I think one of the things we're all seeing out of the pandemic is how much we yearn for social connection. So there's some ideas around, say, a library, and libraries have also always been an important part of communities, but how we continue to maybe use that idea and leverage it into a community center and creating these environments where there are natural and chance interactions. And we have the statistics that really show that if we're designing these communities better, if we're promoting the ability of movement within that community, it's really helping, the occupants in terms of their health. So in cultural resistance, we're trying to combat the sameness of place. You know, there's the kind of closed eye test where if someone, transported you, eyes closed and open them, could you tell where you are? So we're really trying to find ways to celebrate the uniqueness of place and the design opportunity that it might present. And so, as it says here, and what we're all realizing is, I think we often pre-pandemic used to think about, oh, where are those faraway places we could fly to, maybe to find happiness. But where we live, right in our own backyard, that's the #1 determinant. So thinking about how we might celebrate that local culture, that local community, is really key to determining the happiness of all of us as citizens.
Thanks, Chuck. I'm going to talk a little bit about the other, the kind of next 4 lenses of resilience. But before I do, I just want to say later in the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that I've been working on for the past 2 years that's here in Pennsylvania. So I can attest, being a recent person who has moved to Pennsylvania, that happiness is extremely determinant on where you live. So a few different lenses that we'll just kind of end up with of economic resilience is one of them. So if you look at, as Chuck said, the world GDP is down 5% this year, which is huge. But then if you look at global wealth in general, 60% of global wealth is spread across the 600 largest cities. So when we think about communities, economics are at the top and forefront of the conversation. And it's easy to forget that 40% of the global GDP comes out of the built environment. So it's important that we keep building sustainable places, not just for individuals and community, but also for the economic health of our regions. The next sort of lens to think about resilience is resource resilience. And this is something that we talk about frequently, especially in master planning. So today we all live in linear cities or linear places. We have inputs, food, water, processed good, building materials. We use them and then they come out the other end as outputs like waste or sewage and pollution and commuting. And these are all things that we've developed systems of dealing with over the years. So waste, we have great programs that talk about recycling, and sewage. We have different ways to separate water streams so we can simplify water reclamation and reuse. But wouldn't it be even better if we could change this linear metabolism to one that's more circular? So we still have the same inputs. We still have food and water and energy, but through different processes, we could either reuse them and reinvest them back into the systems that where we live, or we could turn them into other productive outputs like food, energy, water, knowledge, and skills. Another aspect of resilience is functional resilience. So functional resilience really has to do with using the assets that you already have. So it seems somewhat intuitive, but it's 50% more efficient to reuse a building through adaptive reuse or repurposing than build new. And that's something I'll talk a little bit about later in the presentation. And the last one is personal resilience. And it has been really these past 6 months that have given us all an idea of, what personal resilience entails. So 90% of the time that people spend is indoors. And acutely, that has become aware to us in the past 6 months. So if you think about it, the places that we create, the interior environments, they really have the ability to impact the quality of life of individuals. So we're going to talk a little bit about some case studies on projects and surrounding education. But maybe before we transition, we just want to leave with the thought that our goal is for the built environments we create to sustain physical, mental, and emotional well-being for all. So if we keep that at the top of our minds as we undertake design, we can help make the communities we design more resilient places. And so I'll hand it over to Chuck.
So the first case study is a lot of research that we've been doing in education environments over the past almost decade at this point. And of course, as we've been saying, things have really been upended in the past 8 months. And in particular, as Carolyn said, in terms of resilience, really thinking about resilience from the point of view of stressors to the system. And so we're looking and we're rethinking, we're starting to help our clients really rethink what the education environment of the future might look like. But it is important to just kind of take a moment and step back as to where we were. So, the old reality was over the past decade, very few universities in particular offered online courses. There was the idea of sort of emulating future environments. So, if you were in elementary school, a lot of the environment was made to look like middle school like high school like college, and then college was really trying to replicate in some ways what the workplace environment might look like. And then the third part of that is also what the speed and the time look like and place. And it was kind of set, that sort of rhythm of the academic calendar. So the other thing that we're seeing is there's a lot of talk about sort of the average learner in terms of what their view is or how they're understanding things. And we're really moving to think about what the outliers look like and designing for the edges rather than that mythical average. And as I mentioned, we've been really studying these things for almost 10 years. And we know that engagement is just a critical driver to success. And that's not just engagement between a teacher and a student, but really that student to student engagement is incredibly important for them to gain knowledge. So it's not just that it's a social aspect, it is actually important to their classroom success. The second is inclusivity. Just making sure that students are feeling included. And the third is really about technology and its role. Not going to go into all the different learning modes, other than to say that there are various modes. And over the past 5 years or so, there's really been a lot of development in terms of brain science, in terms of how students are able to learn and acquire information. And that's led us to understand these different modes. And of course, back on March 13th, everything got upended. And the focus at that point, at that moment, was really on the educational, instructional experience. But now that universities have had a little bit more time, there's a little bit more emphasis now on thinking about what the social experience might be beyond simply education. So in the new reality, of course, universities have shifted back. There's been a lot of fits and starts with it. Many proposed going completely online, or I'm sorry, completely in person, but then some have shifted back to be virtual. Some are trying to create a hybrid model. And so we're really still focused on the left-hand side of this in terms of health and access. We're starting to help lead that change, thinking about some possible new space typologies, creation of guidelines, And then on the far right, really that further out view of what the reimagined campus might look like. And our clients, this is really where they're focused right now, thinking about, again, that idea of connectedness and also equity and inclusion. You know, we're hearing from students who may not even have internet in their home. So making a technology platform that has the ability to be used on a smartphone is really important. They're able to use that smartphone, you know, to pick up Wi-Fi, let's say at a fast food restaurant or somewhere else, or a library, which is really important to their success. And so these are the kind of the 6 themes that are starting to emerge out of these conversations. I'd say this is still a work in progress, and we're trying to figure it out and figure out with our clients if where and how the future is going. And we're gathering this information, you know, certainly speaking to our clients as well. We have a learning from home experience index. So we're measuring what students are finding as they're experiencing their home-based learning. Go ahead, Carolyn. Thanks. And so students are really reporting that they're feeling less connected to others. And interestingly enough, they're finding that they are more impacted than educators are feeling in terms of the virtual learning environment. So as we're thinking toward the future, we're trying to figure out how we can create both a digital and a physical experience that can help students feel connected. And so here, we do believe that there is an opportunity, a long-term opportunity, to really reinvent the university experience. And so now to the next reality and reimagining that learning experience. And so we're really trying to create that balance between what works physically and what can work virtually, and understanding, again, to that idea of resilience, that there might be points in the future where we will need to move again between these 2 realities. And so these are these 6 pillars that we're starting to explore to figure out what that reimagined future might look like. So the first is the adaptability of hybrid learning. This is really about agility in space. I think we all recognize that having those spaces that can transform pretty quickly from one mode to the next are going to be key to the future. The second one is about personalization, and this had already been a trend pre-COVID, but thinking about how someone's learning experience can be tailored to them so that they're able to get the maximum value and benefit out of it. And that, of course, makes them feel more engaged, and the more engaged, the more likely they are to graduate. The third is about talent development, and this stems from both the need for universities to recruit top talent in terms of faculty as well as students, but also developing that talent that is needed for industries. One of the things that hasn't changed over the past 6 months is there's a lot of incredible research being done at institutions, and so helping to foster that to the future is an important consideration. And what we're also finding is the decision making is data driven. And so really searching for that ROI. What are the things that can happen on a campus that create the most value and the highest return on investment? And being resilient as we do it. And this is making sure that we are really minimizing our impact on a campus. And then finally, being unique to place. And this is a moment to rethink that value proposition so that a campus can think about what are the things, what are those moments where it makes the most sense to bring students, faculty, and the entire community together versus what are those ideas and thoughts that can happen more in a remote environment.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chuck. I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that's currently under development in Pennsylvania. It's Pittsburgh International Airport. And when I think about the 8 different lenses of resilience that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation, this project hits on most, if not all of them. The story of Pittsburgh, as many people might know, is one of reinvention and rebirth from a steel town to a town that is now heavily focused on education, health, and innovation. So an interesting sort of driver for the Pittsburgh Airport project, and you know, when I'm out and about in Pittsburgh, people say to me frequently, "Didn't we just build the airport, you know, 25 years ago?" And it's true. Pittsburgh in the early 90s opened a new international airport, but that was an international airport built as a hub facility for transfer passengers. And so what you see on the screen here is an artist's rendition of the original 1992 Pittsburgh Airport. Accordingly, as a hub for transfer passengers, it consisted of 2 major components, or it consists of 2 major components. One, which is a building for ticketing and bag claim, and another is a midfield concourse shaped as an X that's connected to the terminal building by an underground automated people mover. And so the idea was, when this building was developed in the 1990s, that a lot of passengers would come to Pittsburgh to get to someplace else. So if you were going to Atlanta from Cleveland, you'd fly here, transfer, and then leave. And it was developed with the idea that 20 million passengers a year could use the facility. But when US Airways, which was the driver behind that project, dehubbed from Pittsburgh, the reality of the day-to-day operations was very different. From a high of over 20 million passengers to an average of somewhere around 7.8 to 8 million passengers, the composition of the average traveler and movement of Pittsburgh changed. So not only was the demand smaller, but also people, as originating and departing passengers, frequently moved between the ticketing hall and bag claim and the concourses. So there was a lot of energy expended getting people back and forth using the automated people mover, and a lot of maintenance dollars going to maintain spaces that were not used as gates or for other functions any longer. So that was one of the major drivers of this project. And what you see here is a modernized project that actually makes the operations of the airport more compact. So in the previous slide, that X concourse is over here and that ticketing building is over here. What this project is proposing is building a new terminal processor with ticketing and bag claim functions closer to the gates. So not only are we creating an operation that's more compact and energy efficient, but we're also creating a streamlined passenger experience that will bring passengers closer to the places that they need to be at the times that they need to be there. So the new modernized Pittsburgh Airport will look something like this. And we said modernized is at approximately 2023. Obviously, the past 6 months have been tough for the airline industry, and the construction of this project has been delayed somewhat, but we're still on track to deliver the same project with enhancements dealing with optimizing travel post-COVID for the public next year. So what you see here on the screen, the X, those are the gates. The T-shaped building is the new terminal processor, and we're creating a green spine in front of the building that links the facility with the parking structure and rental car buildings. The building's a 3-level structure, and one of the drivers for making it a 3-level structure was, again, to get the passenger where they needed to be in the quickest possible time. So functionally, those were the drivers behind the airport modernization. But really, at the forefront of that conversation was the idea of creating a healthy airport, not just for passengers, but also for employees. So passengers may spend an average of 2.5 or 3 hours in the airport when they're going or coming, but employees spend 8 to 10 hours all day, every day in the facilities. So when we developed a sustainability strategy for the airport, we really wanted to think about both user groups and how the building can work for everyone. What you see here is a early artist's rendition of what the approach landscape to the terminal can be. Today, the airport is on huge grounds that are beautifully landscaped, and our vision for the terminal was that you continued in this lush landscape and that you could use automated, self-automated vehicles or a walking path to get to or from where you needed to go. The environmental goals that have been set for the airport are really working within the larger context of Pittsburgh's environmental goals and awareness. You see on the left PNC Tower, which is North America's greenest skyscraper, and that was opened several years ago. And then there's other great examples of groundbreaking green buildings like the Convention Center in Pittsburgh. So very much the vision for our project was to integrate this building into a great natural landscape. And I talked a little bit about what that entry approach could be. The design team also designed a series of terraces so that when people were in the bag claim area, this is a picture of that, or waiting for loved ones that they were picking up in the meter greeter area, they would have the opportunity to view and to interact with a four-season landscape. We also went through a process of planning these terraces for different sorts of uses, and that deals a little bit with about the idea of community sustainability. The landscape design team, OJB, on this project went and surveyed all of the different community activities that the airport hosts in a year and strategically designed areas on the landscape terrace that would accommodate each of them. The project when we began was aiming for LEED certification, but we went through a series of working with community members in a landscape and sustainability working group to help determine what the most important things were that the project wanted to focus on in terms of sustainability outcomes. One of the most immediate things that we needed to address was the idea of daylight integration. And one of the design drivers of the project is that it's a pavilion in a forest, so there's a lot of glass. But with a west-facing building, we were challenged having a glassy pavilion in the same location where airline agents would be ticketing passengers. So we went through a process of studying solar movements throughout the year and evaluating solar heat gain and loss in places where glare might be an issue. We looked at a number of different glare mitigation strategies, including exterior louvers, fixed interior shading, movable interior shading, and electrochromic glass. Airports are also unique when you think about energy expenditure. Airports have huge process loads, so all of the systems that move the baggage, all of the lights that are on all the time for the passengers are a big energy drain, but we were able to reduce the amount of energy used by this building compared to the existing terminal by really making some smart decisions about envelope and other issues. Indoor environmental air quality is also something from the environmental resiliency perspective that this project got into. So obviously there's a lot of challenges for an airport. It's a large volume space, there's deep floor plates, but the design team really thought creatively with the ownership team about how ongoing monitoring and operational planning could be part of increasing the quality of the indoor air, especially for employees that were there all day long. So one of the most interesting things, and I'll go through these very quickly, is the idea that the terraces and the landscape are a way to introduce biophilic design into the project. So biophilic design is the idea of designing with nature and giving people opportunities to really relax in nature and increase health and wellness. So our landscape architecture team looked not just at Pittsburgh, but at the whole Allegheny region and the different biospheres and microclimates that happened in Western Pennsylvania. So from that, they developed the idea of representing 3 of the great different ecosystems in the landscape for the building. So forests and woodlands, rolling hills, and exposed rock formations. And what results is really a blended approach where the exterior landscaping and the interior landscape seem to meld with each other. What you see here is a plan of the 4 terraces that I talked about. 2 of them are prior to security and 2 of them are after security. And that was done purposefully because we wanted to have passengers have the opportunity to use these spaces no matter where they were in the terminal. So on the north side of the building, the landscape is reminiscent of the climate in the north central Appalachian forest. On the south side of the building, the Western Allegheny Valley and the 2 airside terraces are reflective of the Central Appalachian Ravine. So here are a few images. And when people look at these, they say, you know, I don't really feel like I'm looking at an airport terminal. I feel like I'm looking at a great outdoor space. But these terraces are actually elevated a level above the ground, and they're above a bag room. So this is really creating an oasis in a highly built environment. One of the other sustainable aspects that the team looked at very closely was water efficiency in the way of reducing water demand for the new building in comparison to the existing building. And the landscape obviously is a huge water draw, but the team thought creatively about ways to harvest water for irrigation purposes from those big rolling roof forms. We also looked at HVAC measures, but the building uses a central utility plant, so those were somewhat tied to existing infrastructure. And then we also looked at plumbing fixtures that were smart and conserved water. So there are many other things that we can talk about the sustainability story of the airport, but sort of to end, I wanted to talk a little bit about authenticity and community resilience. So what you see here is a rendering of the 2-story atrium of the building. There's a Calder statue that we're relocating from the existing building into this space. And that Calder statue is, or mobile rather, is named Pittsburgh, and it's intended to be representative and iconic of the communities in Pittsburgh. So, you know, I started by saying there were a lot of functional drivers for the modernization of Pittsburgh Airport, but we also didn't want to lose track of the fact that this was a great opportunity to enhance and modernize the passenger experience. So in order to really understand the passenger experience, we looked at different moments in the terminal and thought a little bit about the different experiences that could be derived in each different location. So these are 5 different, excuse me, modes that people experience space. We thought deeply about how we could enhance the project with a sense of discovery by implementing artists' work at strategic locations throughout the building. We thought about how people would socially use the space, the meter greeter area and that great two-story space in the last image. And with that, we're looking forward to a new modernized Pittsburgh terminal opening sometime in the next several years. So with that, I think we'll open it for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Chuck and Caroline. We have our first question from Brett.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much, both of you, for that great presentation. It certainly was a lot for us to take into account and consider. And I guess the question that I had is not so much related to these projects, but in general, as you've gone through and you have kind of a very large built portfolio. But on your website, you talk a little bit about individuals. And as individuals have lived and played and interacted with your built projects over the years, have you ever been surprised by any particular use or interactions people have had with your buildings which were not originally conceived of during design? Kind of like those found spaces, things you're hoping to have happen within the Pittsburgh airport.
That's a great question. I might take it in a little bit of a broader way. You know, we do urban design and planning as well. And throughout my career of doing that type of work, I am always surprised how people utilize public space differently. And we just recently authored a guide for the District of Columbia around public space activation. I feel like looking forward, in our buildings and our cities, we're going to be expected to provide opportunities for people to improvise and city make and do their own things. So I guess I could recount a few like really surprising or interesting ways that people have reused space, but maybe I'll hand it over to Chuck if he has any examples.
Well, yeah, I think the one that comes to mind is actually not so much maybe about how space was used, but sort of that unintended consequence. We just opened a new student union for Columbia College, which is in Chicago. And the whole idea of that project was really to, rather than having, you know, the atrium that all architects love and in the center of the building, it brought the atrium to the edges. So that created large expanses of glass on the outside. But across the street, I believe it's Michigan Ave, from the project, there is a huge blank wall that is like the side of a convention center facility. And Columbia College is known for its art and design students. And so that wall became really a place where their fashion students have now created these massive murals that are changed, that exhibit both their student models as well as, of course, student design fashion. So as you get up into the building, you're now, when you're sitting there and you're working, you know, with your team or whatever it is, and you're looking across now at these fantastic examples. And I'd say it was one of those, you know, kind of happy like coincidences, things that happen through the design process that I don't think we were aware that there was the real power of that at the outset.
Wonderful. Ms. Sponza, Mr. Rudalavich, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have our next question from Chris.
Hello. The airport concept is beautiful, and I love the Caldermobile. And I'm wondering, are there other aspects of the design that connect to the cultural landscape of Pittsburgh? And what kind of role maybe your local design partners played in channeling that authenticity to the project?
Great question, Chris, because I made it through that presentation and I forgot to talk about that part. And I said, oh, shoot, I really wanted to talk about the cultural influences. So, you know, I talked a little bit about the meter greeter experience, more so than any other airport that I've worked on. Pittsburgh Airport has a lot of people that come to pick people up at the airport. So that idea of creating like a mixing bowl of space where everybody could come in and sort of hang out together and have shared experiences was really important. Uh, Working with our local partners, Architectural Innovations is our local architectural partner, and we have a lot of other local engineering partners who were really great to work with on this project. I didn't really talk that much about the art program, but the art program was intended to reflect sort of the Pittsburgh cultural heritage and sensitivities. And as part of the project, we did a very detailed plan that considered use of different mediums, use of different artists from different parts of the country. And we also collaborated with a local makers group called MonMade to source materials that makers around Pittsburgh and in the Allegheny region actually not just designed, but created themselves by hand. So that was a really big part of the project, although probably down there in the details.
Great, thank you.
Another question came through. When describing the design of educational places, you mentioned designing for the edges rather than for the average. Can you give an example of how you achieve this?
A specific example. I'd say we're really getting into this now, and you know, looking at the specifics of it. I think it has to do with how people are feeling in a space and how we're doing it in an inclusive manner. So as much about it is the process that we're working with a group of students or a university community to make sure that all voices are heard. So I think it's more about those voices being heard through the process than maybe like a tangible example at this point. So, and the way we're doing that and what we're finding actually through even in our current mode of working, which is completely virtual, we're finding that some voices that used to maybe dominate in a face-to-face type of meeting, in a virtual format, the sort of balance is shifting. And by collecting information in multiple ways, so we'll do, of course, you know, video chat, but we might also run like a polling program at the same time. We're capturing those voices in a different way. So don't have like a tangible example of you know, a design implication yet, but I think in terms of making sure we're capturing all of the voices, that's where we're making a lot of progress.
Thank you. And we have a final question that came in from Chris.
Okay. I think that your discussion about the research that you're doing and rethinking the educational environment is fascinating, especially in the context of the pandemic. And I'm wondering if there are more bleeding edge ideas being tested that you can speak to, and just knowing that architecture is often a slow, patient pursuit. How are you helping your clients respond to, you know, the insanely speedy changes occurring specific in that setting?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, you know, first of all, what we're doing, part of Gensler, one of our practice areas is a digital experience design group. So we've been partnering, the education group and the digital experience design group have been partnering to think about that educational experience that is both in a particular place as well as, of course, in a digital experience. So that kind of blended approach and looking at things is one of the keys to how we're doing it. I'd say right now there's still of course, a lot of institutions that are living really in the moment, and a lot were planning to be back fully face-to-face in the fall. They've now had to adjust back to some form of virtual or some kind of blended approach. So at the moment, I'd say the sort of rethinking is kind of further out there. You know, we've been doing a lot of sort of the typical kind of de-densification studies and looking at things like that. Further out, we're seeing more of an emphasis on the touchless experience. So just thinking about how we can really leverage the, you know, the smartphone that we're all carrying around, or whatever the future might hold, whatever kind of wearable it is, to avoid those kind of touch moments of whether that be a door handle or an elevator button, whatever it might be. We're definitely seeing modifications in that way.
I would agree with Chuck. It's definitely, we're in a world of both high tech and low tech solutions, and we're organized at Gensler into practice areas. So, you know, I feel like I learned a lot from Chuck's presentation that could be transferred to aviation facilities. And I feel like there's a good interplay between the different practice areas. Like what's really good and specific for one location could also work for someplace totally different. So we get the benefit of idea sharing there. I might just add, you know, it's not, and we all know this, it's not just helping our clients find solutions, but working within regulatory agencies as well. With the airport, we have Customs and Border Patrol, we have Transportation Security Administration. So everybody has their different policies and procedures and protocols. So I think it's going to be really important moving forward that there's a shared alignment across all for, you know, what's acceptable in terms of technology solutions.
Thank you. And we have one final question. We have just enough time for one more from Kyle.
Well, good afternoon, guys. Thanks again for your time and your wise wisdom here today. I'm curious a little bit here. You know, obviously you guys have spoken a lot about the challenges of 2020 and the impacts that they're having on your projects and your clients and how you're adapting to all those. I'm a little curious on how you guys, as Gensler as a whole, have adapted to that, and how your daily operations are affected, and what of these changes do you see as being permanent effects and the way you guys operate? As I can see, you guys, looks like you guys are both working remotely still. How do you see that both, I guess, short-term and long-term effects?
Well, I'm in our Pittsburgh project office and Chuck is in the Philadelphia office. So we might have a little bit of a different answer to that question. Yeah, we are actively making return to office plans, but keeping in mind, you know, the comfort level and health and safety of our people first. So we're a people first organization. You know, I think working remotely has provided a lot of opportunities for efficiency, but people are just dying to get back together again, like share a coffee and sit down and actually, you know, draw something. So we're just navigating it day by day. I think like everybody on this call probably is.
Yeah, I'll add, you know, at the outset of this back in March, our Andy and Diane, our co-CEOs, said we've gone from having 50 offices around the globe to, you know, 6,000 or so. And you know, we are starting to have, I believe our New York office has reopened with a few folks. But as Carolyn said, we're really trying to figure it out like everyone else. And I agree. I think from a sort of workflow productivity standpoint, there's been very few issues. But that overall ability to, you know, there are certain tasks that certainly lend themselves better to that face-to-face interaction. And so I think just like everyone else, we're figuring out as our offices reopen, what are those moments, what are those tasks that are really critical, where the face-to-face interaction is key, versus what are some of those moments that, you know, work just fine from, you know, your home office or wherever you might be.
So if that was the last question, I think Chuck and I just want to take the opportunity to thank everybody on the call today and everybody attending the award ceremony and everybody at AIA Central Pennsylvania. This has been really fun, and it's always great presenting to other architects and designers.
Yes.
Thank you, Chuck and Caroline, for joining us today and sharing this valuable insight. For those of you joining this session, please stay tuned for our 2020 Excellence in Design Awards broadcast beginning immediately after this keynote.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2020 AIA Central Pennsylvania Design Awards. Thank you to those of you who turned in for our keynote presentation from Gensler on resilient design. We also would like to thank the outstanding contributions made by our members to pull together award submissions during these difficult times. The projects exemplify how the design of a building can contribute to the daily well-being of its inhabitants. This year, we received 41 submissions and are incredibly grateful for the time each firm has taken to showcase their work and for participating tonight in celebrating our local design community. This celebration of architectural excellence is made possible by our generous sponsors and partners: Armstrong World Industries, Bench Dogs, Benjamin Roberts, C.H. Briggs, Conestoga Tile, C.S. Davidson Incorporated, Diversified Lighting, Dormicaba USA, Green Building Engineers, High Construction, Moore Engineering, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects, RLPS Architects, Rulon International. Thank you to our sponsors. We greatly appreciate your support of our local firms. Welcome to AIA Central Pennsylvania's Virtual Excellence in Design Awards broadcast. Tonight, we recognize and celebrate the great work that Central Pennsylvania's architects are doing to create a better world through innovative, scalable, and measurable solutions that ultimately create positive social, environmental, and economic change. Now introducing the 2020 scholarship recipients from the Central Pennsylvania chapter. These scholarships award students based on talent and financial need. A record-breaking 17 applications were received this year. These recipients were selected by a jury of 12 members from a pool of highly qualified candidates. This year, we are proud to award scholarships to 5 students from our chapter, demonstrating the talent and promise within our 13 local counties. Introducing the 2020 recipients of the Central Pennsylvania Architects Foundation Fund Scholarship. From York County, we present this scholarship to Beverly Harper Brockway. Beverly is pursuing a Bachelor of Architecture degree and a minor in Landscape Architecture at Penn State University. Congratulations, Beverly! From Lancaster County, we present the second Central Pennsylvania Architects Foundation Fund Scholarship to Julie Petrillo. Julie is pursuing a Master of Architecture degree at the University of Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Julie. Introducing the recipients of the AIA Component Grant Scholarship. From Dauphin County, we present this scholarship to Colin White. Colin is pursuing a Bachelor of Architecture degree at Thomas Jefferson University. Congratulations, Colin. AIA Central Pennsylvania is proud to present scholarships to 2 technical trade students. From Lancaster County, we present this scholarship to Jasmine Yachaz. Jasmine is pursuing an associate's degree in architectural technology at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. Congratulations, Jasmine. From Lancaster County, we present this scholarship to Samuel Mare. Samuel is pursuing an associate's degree in architectural technology at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. Congratulations, Samuel. Congratulations to the 2020 scholarship recipients. Introducing the 2020 Excellence in Design Awards, juried by members from AIA Fort Lauderdale. Anson Stewart is an architect with over 20 years of experience, the founder of Stewart Architecture and a speaker at Black Architects in the Making, BAM. Born in Nassau, the Bahamas, he worked in the United States and in the Cayman Islands, and has taught design studios at the Florida Atlantic University School of Architecture. Arturo Oroya is the director of the Florida office of Spagels and Partners, a firm based in New Haven, Connecticut. He is a comprehensive thinker who incorporates the built environment to promote and improve the user experience. Griffin K. Morris is a senior project manager with Strang Design, an award-winning residential design firm focused on advancing the principles of regional and environmental modernism. He has served as an adjunct faculty member for Kent State University, his alma mater, and Florida Atlantic University. He is the current AIA Fort Lauderdale chapter president. Each year, projects are awarded in 3 tiers: Citation Awards, followed by Merit Awards, and topping off at the highest level with Honor Awards. Additionally, one project is awarded the added designation of Good Design is Good Business for a project that illustrates the strongest relationship between the client and the architect who best utilized design to achieve strategic business objectives. A citation award will be given for projects illustrating a high level of design conceptualization and implementation. In the unbuilt category, we present a citation award to Chris Dawson Architect for the Harrisburg City Hall renovations. The new design for the building will work to erase a current perception of fortification, creating a more open and welcoming civic space. The intent being to open spaces up, allowing staff to collaborate, attract new young staff, and provide an enhanced experience in service to the city's citizens. The jury appreciated the use of the wood screens in the atrium, which brings warmth to the brutalist space and helps balance the proportions of the openings on each floor. Congratulations, Chris Dawson Architects. In the built category, we present a citation award to Warehouse for the Courtyard by Marriott at McHenry Row. In the revitalized neighborhood of the Locust Point, the hotel caps the final phase of development at McHenry Row, which also included the design for a 5-story, 75,000 square foot office building. The 8-story, 126-room hotel is LEED Silver certified and achieved 30% energy cost savings, 43% water use reduction, and 98% of construction waste diverted from landfill. Featuring an innovative lobby space and a contemporary guest room design, the new hotel provides flexibility and choices that allow guests to optimize and elevate their travel experience. The jury recognized that architects are frequently asked to design projects on sites that are too small, and especially with prototype-driven projects, this can be a serious challenge. This team found a solution that works well, satisfies the client brand standards, and is aesthetically pleasing. Congratulations, Warehouse! In the built category, we present a citation award to Chris Dawson Architects for the Hershey Public Library new family entrance and interior renovations. This library has been overhauled to align the building with the 21st century programs being offered and the evolution of how libraries are used now more as community centers and less as book warehouses. A new entrance canopy both creates an enjoyable exterior reading garden and connects the library patrons to the surrounding community campus. The interior upgrades include relocating the stacks, creating dedicated children's storytime area, teen room and quiet reading room, adding group study rooms, enlarging the adult lounge space, and consolidating staff offices. The jury was impressed by the long canopy that pierces the interior space, a bold move that pays off well. Congratulations, Chris Dawson, architect. In the small project category, we present a citation award to Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects for the Fashion Garage. After a local fashion designer store grows in success, it becomes paramount that she needs a larger studio space separate from her house and growing family. The goal of the project is to design an open-plan fashion studio that could economically be constructed over top of the single-car garage at the rear of the property where her family lives, approximately 5 minutes from her downtown shop. The studio would provide dedicated and flexible space for design, meeting, office, product prototypes, and material inventory. The jury commented on the great idea and concept, which demonstrates potential unused space in the urban fabric. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects. In the built category, we present a citation award to Murata, Maine Architects for the New East Vincent Elementary School. To align with educational specifications and future enrollment projections, the district elected to build a replacement school on the same site as the existing building, introducing the first challenge. To keep the school operational throughout construction, the new building would be located in the rear of the site, about 8 feet lower than the finished floor of the existing building. After the new building was occupied, the existing school was demolished, allowing for new playfields. The building also contains a science room, art classroom, music classroom, and other extracurricular spaces. The jury acknowledged that this project demonstrates a good sense of proportion, sensitivity to its context, and use of material. Congratulations, Murata, Maine Architects! In the built category, we present a citation to Murray Associates Architects, PC, for the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. PHFA's growth created disconnected departments and additional space was needed for new employees. The agency's urban headquarters was landlocked by deteriorating historic buildings and a small parking lot. The dilapidated 1904 Hickok House adjacent to PHFA was purchased, its rear non-historical addition raised, and its exterior restored. The tower footprint was an impervious parking lot and the former non-historic Hickok House addition. The new office addition utilizes high amounts of energy with its elevator, equipment, appliances, computers, and monitors. To meet LEED Platinum and Passive House criteria, multiple systems were integrated to offset energy consumption. The jury complimented the brick addition, which does a good job of blending with the Hickok House, taking extra notice to the facade of the addition and its pleasing pattern. Congratulations, Murray Associates Architects, PC. In the unbuilt category, we present Chris Dawson Architect with the Citation Award for the Hidden Still Distillery and Restaurant. Formerly the Hershey Foods extraction plant, the project includes converting industrial space to restaurant, bar, and event space, in addition to a distillery and cigar lounge. The historic architecture will largely remain exposed and celebrated, with its authenticity reinforced by the addition of sympathetic but clearly contemporary elements, such as the vertical metal panel-clad elevator and stair tower, an entrance canopy and back porch area with simple metal details, and exposed wood elements inside and out. The black metal banding on wood barrels and the industrial copper tanks used in producing the spirits were inspirations for the architectural material selections throughout the project. The jury enjoyed the contrast of the dark metal panels with the existing brick and thought the interior renderings showed a promising vision with beautiful daylit spaces. Congratulations, Chris Dawson Architect. Introducing the Merit Awards. In the built category, we present a Merit Award to Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects for the 1741 Club. This project set out to transform a dated 12-year-old event space inside a minor league baseball stadium into a premier year-round entertainment and hospitality venue. Existing ceilings and room finishes were removed to the exposed skeleton of the space to enhance the sense of openness, daylighting, and views of the ball field. Zones were then created within the open plan for a variety of individualized experiences. The zones are differentiated by palettes of ceiling, floor, and wall textures, materials, and colors. A new entry sequence was choreographed from the lobby into the club via a folded wood ceiling, a salvaged industrial sliding door, a backlit blue wall panel, and a 26-foot-long nano-wall folding glass partition. The jury was impressed by the excellent use of materials and contrasting textures. The folded wood ceiling plane helps define the space in a unique way. This project shows great design on a challenging budget. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects! In the unbuilt category, we present a Merit Award to Chris Dawson Architects for the Watkins residence. The Watkins' desire for exposed steel, concrete, glass, and Core 10 metal informed the design of a series of pavilions connected by a circulation spine anchored by a cast-in-place concrete wall. The Great Room Pavilion at the south end contains the living, dining, and kitchen spaces and connects to a partially covered outdoor deck and bar area, which leads to the Bedroom Pavilion and ultimately the garage bookended at the north end. The south end of the home is elevated on steel pilotis that allow the landscape to flow under the building up to the partial basement portion. Once inside, at the cast-in-place concrete wall threshold, the panoramic view of the landscape becomes the defining feature of the home. The jury appreciated how the light and airy interior spaces contrast with the use of darker metal panels on the exterior. The Core 10 steel pulls from the site context and adds a nice texture to the elevations. Congratulations, Chris Dawson Architect! In the unbuilt category, we present Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects with a Merit Award for the Graham Center for Innovation and Collaboration. After several years of running a successful entrepreneurship program, the Branch University campus secured donor funding to construct a building dedicated to the advancement of student collaboration and innovation. A 2-story concrete and steel-framed building is proposed to be nestled into the sloping site and capture panoramic views, visually and psychologically connecting the center with the York community beyond. The building floor plate optimizes the solar orientation, massing relationships to adjacent buildings, and student-pedestrian campus site connections. The interior environments will predominantly be a series of open, connected, daylight-filled, flexible spaces with exposed systems, all conducive to student collaboration. The jury thought this project showed great site plan relationships and takes advantage of the topography. The use of a vertically patterned material contrasted with the horizontal planes of the roof and entry canopy turned out beautifully. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects! In the built category, we present a Merit Award to Warehouse for the Milton and Catherine Hershey Conservatory at Hershey Gardens. The design of the new structure mirrors the historic detail of Milton and Catherine Hershey's original conservatory at their family home. It incorporates modern materials, systems, and functionality to support the intricacies of the project program. The main attraction features a living tropical butterfly atrium exhibit carefully designed to maintain the tight environmental tolerances that encourage high levels of butterfly movement. The conservatory also incorporates a retail gift shop, flexible event space, and office space in the lower level. The jury acknowledged how this project took a deep dive into a unique program, blending into its site with a more classical design. Incorporating a butterfly atrium and lush landscaping with the more rigid classical aesthetic creates a beautiful contrast. Congratulations, Warehouse! In the unbuilt category, we present a Merit Award to Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects for the Shenandoah Downtown Center. The primary goal of the Downtown Shenandoah Center project is to provide a transformative building that would give residents of the town and neighboring towns access to programs that are currently unavailable in the greater Shenandoah region. It will additionally provide spaces for community events and allow for any potential change in use as needs shift in the future. The design attempts to reconcile the contrasting nature of Shenandoah's industrial decline and aging urban fabric with the desire for innovation and new technologies. The jury recognized how this project organizes a complex program around a vertical stair atrium, creating a series of separate yet connected spaces. This reflects its purpose as an innovative and collaboration center and shows dynamic massing on the exterior. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects. In the Built category, we present a Merit Award to Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects for the Hancock Community Library. Infused with a sense of dignity and pride for the small-town Western Maryland community, the building nestles into the land in a manner which enhances the natural qualities of the place and creates the perception of a pavilion in the park. The design is focused on flexibility, clarity, user comfort, and natural daylight. The modest program includes a main reading room, a quiet reading area, and a children's zone. The main library entrance is clearly expressed at the south end with tall glass lobby walls that glow at night. The linear layout of spaces is an open plan arrangement front to back, with as few walls and enclosed rooms as possible. The exterior materials include a combination of native stone, wood siding, wood panel products, and recycled metal, a composition that complements the natural qualities of the site. The jury enjoyed the designer's use of a simple box, and a well-designed interior succeeds at creating well-defined space in an open volume. The rigidity of the box is balanced by the introduction of just a few angled lines, giving the space visual interest and a sense of delight. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects. In the Built category, we present a Merit Award to Murray Associates Architects PC for the new Williamsport Regional Airport Terminal. The new terminal has a unique contemporary building form designed to highlight Lycoming County's signature logging history. Wooden inlays adorn metal support beams, drawing the eye up to the clear-story sawtooth roof's ever-changing rhythm of multi-height spaces. Large sunlit windows and tall exposed wood-decked ceilings create a modern, spacious atmosphere. The open floor plan is accentuated with light-tiled flooring cut with a fluid pathway of multiple shades of blue tiles, reflecting the adjacent Susquehanna River that provides wayfinding for passengers. The remaining palette is limited to high-performance glass, stone, and exposed steel superstructure. The building form allows generous controlled natural light into all public spaces. The jury complimented the use of timber and sawtooth roof to allow sunlight into the spaces, which creates a warm and inviting atmosphere. The extension of the timber to the steel column detail is very nice. Congratulations, Murray Associates Architects PC. In the Built category, we present a Merit Award to Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects for the Washington County Senior Center. The architects were hired to repurpose an unused U.S. Army armory to a renovated complex for local senior programs and services. Designers transformed the cold concrete space into a warm and welcoming environment. The architect focused the design on bringing plenty of natural daylight into the existing building. New windows were installed in areas like the former rifle range, which now accommodates multiple spaces for exercise, fitness, games, and crafts. The adjacent parking lot is now a green outdoor courtyard where seniors congregate. A new glass and wood two-story entry structure dignifies the primary building entry point and provides a fitting identity for the senior center during the day and at nighttime. Instead of an empty armory, the new facility provides dozens of programs to local senior citizens, from computers to dance to a hot lunch for anyone who is hungry, all within a fresh, engaging, and inspiring environment. The jury commended this project for its excellent repurposing of an existing building and demonstration of good use of materials. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects. Introducing the projects receiving Honor Awards. An Honor Award has been given for projects exemplifying the highest design quality at the jury's discretion. In the Built category, we present an Honor Award to Chris Dawson Architect for the Elementary Coffee Company. Elementary Coffee Company started in the historic Broad Street Market in Midtown Harrisburg in 2015, and after demand for products increased and community popularity grew, it was time to expand to a brick-and-mortar storefront. After considering multiple locations, a dilapidated building on North Street in the Capital District of Harrisburg was chosen. In its use of walnut and dark countertops with simple details, the design roots itself in the tone of the market stand, where Elementary got its start. The roastery was located behind the serving counter to display the beautiful machinery and ideally help customers begin to think about the process and people behind their coffee. Connecting the coffee shop to the street with a large new storefront window and sidewalk seating was critically important, as was creating a lounge area for those that want to linger at the shop. Bright white paint was chosen to not only help the natural wood, cork, and floor tile materials pop visually in the space, but also to make the space feel bigger. The jury calls this store a big project in a small space, complementing the excellent use of materials, especially the bright magenta wall. Congratulations to Chris Dawson Architects. In the Built category, we present an honor award to Murray Associates Architects PC for the Lancaster County Day School, the Physical Education and Athletics Center. A project 25 years in the making, designers set out to address the school's circulation issues by connecting the two existing gyms to the entire school for the very first time, while allowing for future expansion. The circulation pattern posed a unique challenge of incorporating fitness programs, a new main entrance for the school, a key pedestrian link which flows through the middle of the addition, and a connection to the existing school. The design focused on themes of connectivity, transparency, and well-being. The design team chose a porch design with an overhanging roof that was created in pieces and also incorporates shed roofs to float stormwater away. The athletic facility addition is specifically designed with a wellness on display approach that invites and encourages students to take an interest in health, exercise, and activities. The jury thought this project demonstrated excellent interior spaces. The inclusion of the time capsule signed beams and the reconfigurable furniture creates a dynamic architecture. The red canopies reflect this energy and accent the roof lines and windows of the existing building. Congratulations, Murray Associates Architects PC. In the Unbuilt category, we present an honor award to Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects for the Northwest Triangle Innovation District. After several unsuccessful efforts to revitalize downtown York's Northwest Triangle, designers bring a new concept which seeks to establish a live-work harmony for a growing economic base while taking advantage of an existing historic and walkable downtown. The Northwest Triangle Innovation District concept proposes a high-density, multi-phased plan for the construction of alternative manufacturing, research and development, laboratory, and office spaces, along with the housing, retail, co-working, and recreational spaces serving those who work in them. Site challenges include the odd trapezoidal lot shapes, the vehicular roadway bisecting the parcels, the adjacency to two active railroad tracks, and the recreational hiking-biking trail inboard of the Corridorus. Nevertheless, each of these is embraced and integrated into the concept as an asset, shaping the identity and organic character of this new dynamic urban place. The jury was impressed by the project, which shows a great aesthetic with a complex program and phasing. It takes advantage of the trapezoidal site shape, giving an equal amount of attention to the exterior and the interior spaces being created. Congratulations, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects. In the Unbuilt category, we present an honor award to Chris Dawson Architects for the Penn State Harrisburg 24/7 study. Originally, the firm was hired to redesign the tired cyber cafe on campus into a makerspace and collaborative lab, but the plan was not approved by the student body. The renovation would have converted space presently accessible to the entire student body and limited it to graduate students. Even though it was denied, the students liked the design concept so much that they requested the same firm develop a design to improve the common study area. Not only has the student body voted to approve the project, but they have contributed the bulk of the money from their student activity fund to proceed with construction. The jury calls this project an excellent example of precise, surgical interventions in an existing space to create something new and better than the previous iteration. Spaces are packed in densely, but they don't feel crowded. Congratulations, Chris Dawson Architects. In the Built category, we present an honor award to RLPS Architects for the Wilbur Chocolate Factory redevelopment. This decommissioned factory complex built over 100 years ago has been reinvented into a mixed-use downtown amenity. Anchored by the Wilbur Chocolate Factory, the property was repurposed into a boutique hotel, market food hall, restaurant, and luxury condominiums. The adaptive reuse solution preserved historically and architecturally significant portions and removed later industrial additions that lacked aesthetic value and competed for daylight on the tight site. The existing structure was reinforced using laminated wood beams and steel plates with exposed bolts to respect the industrial aesthetic. The iconic chocolate factory's mark has been restored, and brick masonry and iron railings are repeated on existing and new construction. Breathing room was carved out of the factory shell by removing sections with less architectural value to make room for multi-use experiences. Public entrances to the restaurant and marketplace echo the former factory's street-facing retail component. The jury was impressed by how the addition blends with the existing context. The building massing shows an excellent sense of scale. The interior spaces are beautifully done with warm materials and are very inviting. This is an excellent project. Congratulations, RLPS Architects. Presenting the Good Design is Good Business Award. To be considered for this award, the project shall utilize good design to achieve strategic business objectives. This award is intended to recognize projects in which design excellence elevated the resulting benefit of a project to the business, institution, or community which it serves. We are proud to present the Good Design is Good Business Award to Chris Dawson Architect for the Elementary Coffee Company. The jury debated over this award for a long time. In the end, they agreed it should go to Elementary Coffee Company. This project had a very small budget of less than $100 per square foot and makes a great community space. It also gave Elementary Coffee a physical space of their own, separate from the Broad Street Market. This is a small project with a small budget, but the excellent design will have a huge impact for the business owner and for the community. They were very impressed with the work. Congratulations, Chris Dawson Architect. Presenting the Members' Choice Award. Each firm may submit one project to the Members' Choice Award competition. Members from the chapter have the opportunity to vote for any project outside of their firm. 8 projects were submitted to the Members' Choice Award this year. Army Heritage and Education Center Events Pavilion by Maori Construction. Hershey Public Library New Family Entrance and Interior Renovations by Chris Dawson Architect. The new Williamsport Regional Airport Terminal by Murray Associates Architects. Members First Federal Credit Union, Eisenhower Branch by Beers and Hoffman Architecture. Passenger Coffee Roastery and Cafe by Tono Architects. Pennsylvania Army National Guard Training Support Center by Gannett Fleming. St. John Paul II National Shrine by Warehouse. Lannon Hall by Murphy Dittenhafer Architects. We are excited to announce the 2020 Members' Choice Award goes to Murray Associates Architects for the new Williamsport Regional Airport Terminal. Congratulations, Murray Associates Architects. Thank you to our committee members for organizing the event, Rachel Haynes, Patrick Ness, and Jackie Prasnikar. As always, the AIA Central PA Board welcomes anyone interested in joining to reach out to any board member. We are in need of new board members to serve on committees such as the Design Awards Committee, Lecture Series Committee, and Communications Committee. Thank you to our current board members for volunteering their time to serve our design community. Please tune in for our upcoming fall lecture with Annabelle Seldorf, FAIA, on November 19th at 6:30, and the AIA Pennsylvania Architecture Excellence in Design Awards immediately after. Thank you for joining us to celebrate great architecture this evening. A special thanks to all that submitted to the Design Awards program this year. One more round of applause for our generous sponsors: Armstrong World Industries, Bench Dogs, Benjamin Roberts, C.H. Briggs, Conestoga Tile, C.S. Davidson Incorporated, Diversified Lighting, Dormacaba USA, Green Building Engineers, High Construction, Moore Engineering, Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects, RLPS Architects, Rulon International,